This happened just a few weeks ago. I was in my small apartment, trying to juggle work and self-care. I was stressed and anxious after my breakup, and I thought meditation might help. I sat on the floor, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. Suddenly, I felt a strange tugging sensation, like I was being pulled in all directions. I brushed it off, thinking I was just tired, and went back to sketching. Over the next few days, odd things started happening. I put my favorite coffee mug on the kitchen counter, but it vanished. I found it later on the living room floor, next to the couch. I thought I must have moved it and just forgot. One night, I was working late and felt a sudden chill. I heard whispers, soft but calling my name. My heart raced, but I tried to dismiss it. Then things escalated. One morning, I woke up to see the curtains moving even though the window was closed. A cold draft rolled across the room. I looked around, thinking maybe I left a window open. Everything was shut tight. A few days later, while I was sketching again, I saw a shadow out of the corner of my eye. I turned, but nothing was there. Just silence. I knew my anxiety could mess with my mind. I kept telling myself that. Then the whispers returned, clearer this time. I couldn't catch every word, but I leaned in, trying to listen. I heard my name again, this time right behind me. I jumped, spinning around, expecting to see something. Nothing, just my empty living room staring back. Every night, I felt that pull once more, stronger than ever. I sat in the dark, frozen and confused. Was I having astral projections? Or was I losing it? I was terrified but also curious. Maybe I should have confronted whatever was doing this. Last night was the worst. I lay in bed when the whispers crept back. I sat up, heart pounding, and saw a figure at the foot of my bed. It was tall, dark, and didn't move. I felt like it was staring right at me, and my breath caught in my throat. I felt paralyzed. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then it spoke, or maybe I just heard it in my head. Emily. I couldn't respond. I just stared, my heart racing. I reached for my phone, wanting to shine a light on whatever that was. When I turned back, it was gone. Just my empty room now. I can't shake the feeling that I've invited something into my life I didn't ask for. I thought about confronting whatever it was, but I don't even know how. I feel caught between two worlds. Part of me wants to let go, but the other part is terrified of what might happen next. I don't know if this is over or just beginning. Each night, I lie awake, waiting for the whispers to return. The next day, I decided to find out more about what was happening. I had to know if I was losing my mind or if something truly was in my apartment. I shuffled through my files, searching for any notes I'd written about meditation or paranormal experiences. Maybe there was something in my old sketchbooks or journals that could shed light on this situation. As I flipped through the pages, I stumbled upon a piece I'd sketched months ago. It featured a tall figure, dark and looming, just like what I'd seen at the foot of my bed. The resemblance sent chills down my spine. I pulled out every sketchbook I had, desperate to find more. In one, I found a few words jotted down beside another drawing, guides in the shadows. I didn't remember writing that. My heart raced. What did it mean? I knew I needed to talk to someone. I hadn't touched base with my friend Sarah in a while, and she had always been interested in the supernatural. Maybe she could help me make sense of this. I called her up, my voice shaking as I explained everything. She was intrigued, her excitement was palpable even through the phone. Emily, you have to come over. We can investigate this together, she urged. I hesitated. What if this was worse than I thought? But I felt a pull. Maybe it was the need for answers. Later, I packed a bag with essentials, some sketchbooks, a flashlight, and my notebook. I headed to her place, my nerves flaring with each step. As I walked, the streets felt unnaturally quiet, shadows seeming to dance in my periphery. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I arrived at Sarah's, she opened the door with a mix of enthusiasm and concern. I spilled everything, the whispers, the chills, the dark figure. She listened intently, then proposed we try a small experiment. Let us set an intention and see if we can invite whatever it is to communicate, she suggested. I felt uneasy. did I really want to engage with this? But part of me felt drawn to uncover whatever was lingering in my life. We lit candles and sat down in a dimly lit room. Sarah closed her eyes and began to chant softly, encouraging whatever was in my life to show itself. I followed suit, trying to focus, but my mind raced. I opened my eyes, feeling the heaviness in the air around us. That's when the lights flickered. I stared at the candles, my heart pounding. Sarah's eyes shot open. "I felt something," she exclaimed. I gulped. "What do we do now?" Before she could respond, a cold draft swept through the room, snuffing out the candles. I gasped, scrambling back. We were thrown into darkness. "What the hell was that?" I whispered, fear tightening my chest. Then, I heard it again, the whispers, clearer this time, wrapping around us like a cold blanket. They were calling my name over and over. "Emily. Emily." And suddenly, it felt as if something stepped forward, its presence pressing against my chest. I couldn't breathe. Then everything went dark. I don't know how long I stayed in that darkness. Time twisted around me like a phantom, stretching and contorting in ways I couldn't grasp. My heart thudded in the silence, echoing louder than my racing thoughts. I wanted to scream, cry out for Sarah, but the weight pressed down on me, squeezing the breath from my lungs. Just as fear threatened to swallow me whole, I felt a sudden flicker, like a candle igniting deep within. Light broke through the darkness, not from the candles we lit, but from an overwhelming glow surrounding Sarah. I blinked, straining to see through the blinding radiance, and in that moment, the pressure released its grip. "Emily!" she shouted. "Are you okay?" Her voice felt like an anchor, grounding me to the reality I had almost lost. As the light dimmed, I could finally see her, panic etched on her face, illuminated by an eerie glow. "What just happened?" I stammered, regaining my breath. My mind raced. Was it real? Had I just experienced some sort of astral journey? Sarah shook her head, still a little dazed. "I don't know. It felt like something came very close. Really close." She glanced around the room as if expecting shadows to spill from the corners. "This isn't over." I pushed myself to my feet, still shaken. The room felt unsettled, as if the air hummed with residual energy. "What do we do now?" I whispered, trying to shake away the unease that clung to me. "We should write down everything we felt." "Maybe it's a pattern, something we can decipher," Sarah suggested, her voice steadying. We gathered our thoughts as we scribbled furiously on sheets of paper, recounting every detail from the growing dread, the whispers, and the sudden light. Each word seemed to echo in the stillness of the room. Then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed loudly, shattering the tension. I jumped, glancing at the screen. It was a message from an unidentified number. Heart racing, I opened it. A single sentence appeared: "You have awakened them." I felt icy fingers trace down my spine. "This can't be happening," I muttered under my breath. "What is it?" Sarah asked, peering over my shoulder. "Just a message from someone I don't even know." I felt a mix of dread and curiosity. Who could know what we had experienced? Then, without warning, the room grew cold again. This time, the temperature dropped noticeably, and it was as if the walls closed in around us. I glanced toward the window, expecting to see the moon, but it was engulfed in dark clouds, plunging us deeper into night. "Let us get out of here, now," I said, fear creeping into my voice. I stood up, but as I moved toward the door, I froze. A shadow stretched from the corner, growing larger and darker. I had seen that shape before, and it was coming closer. As panic surged, I realized this was just the beginning. Whatever was happening wasn't going to let us escape that easily. The shadow loomed closer, pulse quickening and seemingly alive. My instincts screamed for me to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. Sarah's breath hitched beside me, and I could sense her fear like a living thing. "Emily," she whispered, the tremor in her voice cutting through the tension, "what is that?" I don't know," I stammered, words falling away as the shadow stretched further into the room. It was formless, dark, and yet somehow it felt like it had a purpose. My heart raced as it surged forward. Without thinking, I grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her toward the window. We need to get out of here. Just as I reached for the handle, an icy wind swept through the room, making me stumble back. I turned, and the shadow was now directly in front of us, a swirling vortex of darkness with no features but an overwhelming sense of malice. "Emily!" Sarah shouted. "The papers!" I glanced back where we had been writing, and there, littered across the table, our notes trembled. The air felt charged, and I could see that some words had been rearranged, scribbled over in a frenzy. Confusion twisted in my gut. "What is happening?" I asked, looking over at her in panic. "I think it's responding to what we wrote," she breathed, her eyes wide with realization. "It's feeding off our fear." Panic bubbled again in my throat. If this darkness was capable of manipulating our thoughts, what else could it do? I needed to think, to act. "We have to find a way to neutralize it," I said, eyes scanning the room for something, anything, that is when I saw it. There, on the floor, illuminated by the fading glow, was a small, silver object, my grandmother's locket. It had slipped from my pocket while I was running earlier. I bent down, snatching it up, feeling a strange warmth radiating from it. "Emily, be careful." Sarah's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "I remember now," I said, clutching the locket tightly. "It's supposed to protect against dark energy." Before I could say more, the shadow lunged. I instinctively held the locket out, almost like a shield. "Get away from us!" I yelled, my voice shaky but resolute. The moment the locket caught the light, the shadow recoiled, a hiss escaping it. It shifted, folding in on itself, but didn't vanish. "Keep it up!" Sarah shouted. "It looks like it's working." I placed my other hand on Sarah's arm, channeling whatever strength I had left. "We need to push it back." The shadow flickered, as if considering its next move. I felt the ground shift beneath me, a tremor I couldn't shake off. Moments later, Sarah gasped, her eyes fixed on the door. "Emily, look!" Before I could react, the shadows coalesced, and from them, a figure stepped forward, a woman with hollow eyes and an ethereal glow. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just anything. Whoever she was the source of the darkness. As she reached out toward us, the locket pulsed in my hand. "What do you want?" I shouted, trying to keep my voice steady. My heart raced in anticipation of what would come next. The figure in front of us hovered just above the ground, her silhouette dark against the slivers of moonlight. I scanned her features, searching for any sign of humanity, but there was none. Just a blank, haunting stare that seemed to dissect us. "Emily," Sarah whispered, her voice quivering. "What do we do?" I tightened my grip on the locket, letting the warmth seep into my palm. "We stand our ground," I replied, my voice firmer than I felt. "Whatever she is," the locket, I hesitated, "it seems to keep her at bay." The woman continued to advance, her ethereal form swirling like smoke around her. "You drew me here," she hissed, her voice a haunting echo that sent chills racing down my spine. "You awakened me." "What do you mean?" I demanded, taking a small step forward, surprising myself with my own bravery. "We didn't want any of this." Her hollow eyes narrowed, and I felt a wave of icy fear wash over me. "Fear is a powerful tool," she said. "And you both are ripe for the taking." That word taking resonated through me. It made my stomach twist. I glanced at Sarah. Her face was pale, but her determination was visible in the way she stood beside me. "Whatever you are, we won't let you take anything from us," Sarah shouted, surprising me again. The shadow flickered, momentarily caught off guard. It gave me a glimmer of hope. "Just remember what the locket represents," I murmured to Sarah, half relying on my own words. "Embrace the light," Sarah stuttered, her voice barely a whisper but grounded in resolve. "It can't feed on that." I looked at the woman, feeling the locket pulsing in time with my heart. "Back off," I commanded, thrusting the locket forward. The glow brightened, and the shadowy figure recoiled. "You think you can erase me so easily?" she shrieked as her voice escalated into a spine-chilling cry. Suddenly, the ground beneath us heaved violently, knocking us both off our feet. I landed hard on the floor, locket slipping from my fingers. It rolled away, extinguishing our fleeting light. "Emily!" Sarah screamed, scrambling to get up, but the shadows enveloped her. I gasped, desperate to reach for her. "No! Stay away from her!" I yelled, lunging forward, but just as I stepped into the dark, I felt a heavy force slam into me, pinning me in place. I gasped, the air hitching painfully in my throat. The woman leaned closer, her hollow eyes boring into mine. "You should have stayed in the light," she taunted, and I felt my strength waning. "Emily!" Sarah cried again, her voice echoing in the darkness. Then I remembered. The locket wasn't just a shield, it was a reminder, a link to everything good in my life. I focused on that warmth, summoned it back, and reached out in desperation. "Don't you dare touch her!" I shouted, my voice igniting with a fierce will. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled again, but this time a crack in the darkness opened up behind the figure, revealing a blinding light. I could hear her furious screams but knew it was now or never. When I lunged for the locket, hoping to reignite its light, the floor shook, and the woman's form began to dissolve into the light, her figure tearing apart like smoke being blown by the wind. "Emily!" Sarah's voice came again, stronger, urging me on. I grasped the locket tightly, feeling energy surge back into my body. "We're not done yet!" I shouted defiantly. Just as I got back on my feet, I saw the crack in the shadows widening, and the light spilling in. But before I could take another step, a new force pulled at the edges of my mind. I froze, caught between darkness and light. Something was wrong, and it was escalating. Someone was trying to resist the light. I felt a cold whisper behind me, something familiar yet terrifying. "You cannot escape that easily," it hissed. The room fell silent, but not for long. I knew this was only the beginning. I blinked, trying to shake off the dizziness. The shrill voice still echoed in the air, and I could feel the darkness tightening around me. Panic surged, but deep down, I felt the flickering light of the locket in my grip. It reminded me of everything I fought for. With a deep breath, I refocused on Sarah. "Hold on. I'm coming," I shouted, but my voice felt small against the oppressive stillness. I pushed through the darkness, the coldness biting at my skin. Then, out of nowhere, flashes of memories hit me. Moments with Sarah, laughing at some stupid joke, the two of us huddled together during a scary movie. I could almost visualize her smile through the shadows. But just as quickly, the vision shifted, and a grotesque shadow flickered past me. I shuddered, questioning if it had been real or a trick of the dark. I glanced toward the locket. The glow was still struggling against the dark, but I could feel it weakening. I could hear Sarah's sobs. "Emily, please!" she cried. "Hang on!" I yelled back, racing toward her voice. My heart raced as I felt something gripping my ankle, pulling me back. I looked down to see dark tendrils swirling around my legs. I couldn't stop now, not when Sarah needed me. With everything I had, I yanked my foot free and pressed forward. The locket urged me on, its warmth feeling like a beacon in the overwhelming darkness. In that moment, I realized I had to face whatever was trying to keep us apart. "Get back!" I screamed, raising the locket above my head. "You have no power here." The shadows groaned, and I felt a sudden rush of heat pulsating from the locket. It was charging, as if the memories I clung to were flowing straight into it. It illuminated the space around me, and for a brief moment, I could see shadows retreating. I felt a presence behind me, different from the spectral woman. I turned quickly, my pulse racing as I met the cold, glinting eyes of another figure, a man, or at least he had once been one. His face was twisted in despair, and he extended a hand, whispering words I couldn't fully comprehend. "Don't listen to him!" A voice came from my left. It was Sarah, still caught in the grip of darkness. Her expression was fierce despite her situation. "He's one of them." I hesitated, fear clawing at my insides. Who was this new figure? What if he was an ally trapped like us, or worse, another form of the darkness we faced? Taking a steadying breath, I turned back to the twisted figure. "You can't have us!" I shouted, and with that, I plunged the locket forward, channeling the memories into the light. The figure convulsed, and a scream ripped through the air, his hollow echo drowning out everything else. No! The shadows recoiled violently, but I felt the ground tremble again. Cracks formed beneath my feet, threatening to swallow me whole. I had to decide, was the new presence a help or a trap? My instincts screamed danger. In that moment of uncertainty, I glanced at Sarah, her face a mask of terror mixed with fierce determination. I couldn't let the darkness take her. That thought sparked a fire in me. I launched myself forward toward her, plunging into the light. Together! I shouted, reaching out for her hand. Then everything went dark. I gasped, feeling heavy and disoriented as darkness enveloped me. I had moved forward, but now I was frozen in place, lost in a void where time and space felt warped. My heart thundered, but I couldn't tell if it was fading or simply drowning in the inky blackness. Emily! Sarah's voice called out, and it struck through the darkness like a spear. I instinctively recognized her fear, and I pushed against the oppressive weight surrounding me. I'm here! I cried out. Suddenly, a spark ignited nearby. The locket flared back to life, and I felt its warmth surge through my fingers once more. I reached for it, and it illuminated the space, pulling shadows away as if they feared the light. But as the glow expanded, the darkness shifted, morphing into more sinister shapes. Stay close! I yelled toward the direction where I thought Sarah would be. Instinct drove me. I couldn't let her be taken, just like those memories threatened to be. As I squared my shoulders, I realized I wasn't just fighting for Sarah, I was fighting for us both. Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow darting past. My heart jumped. Was it just my mind? Or had something become aware of our presence? What are you? I breathed, scanning the shifting forms around me. You have no idea what you're walking into, a voice rasped from the darkness. The voice was cooler, almost mocking. This is not your world to save. Shut up! I shouted back, gripping the locket tighter. My fear morphed into courage. I wasn't going to let some dark entity intimidate me. I know who I'm fighting for. When I called out Sarah's name again, the shadows thickened, but they also shrank back from the glow. Then, in the distance, I spotted a flicker. Was it her? I rushed toward it, heart pounding, but as I moved, a new sensation gripped my chest. Something icy brushed against my back, pulling me further into the abyss. You won't escape, the male voice echoed again. Her fate is intertwined with the darkness. My breath quickened. That couldn't be true. I wouldn't let it be true. No! I shouted defiantly, the locket ablaze with light. I felt the energy of memories surge inside me, filling the air with echoes of laughter and warmth. Emily! Sarah's voice came again, and it was closer this time. I could feel it, like an anchor pulling me back toward hope. I pushed away the darkness, straining against the cold sound of laughter that resonated all around me. I'm coming, Sarah! I yelled. As I stumbled forward, I dared to look back at the twisted figure. Its eyes were filled with rage, a look I would not soon forget, and then, all at once, the world jerked back into harsh clarity. I blinked, and suddenly, I was standing in a dimly lit space, still dark but palpable, solid, before me. The shuddering figure was gone, but the shadows writhed in anticipation. I hadn't escaped them, they were only waiting. And then I saw her, Sarah, finally free of the tendrils that had ensnared her. Emily! She gasped, her face pale and tear-streaked, but before I could reach her, the shadows surged, forming a wall between us. Panic surged again as I realized this fight was far from over. Join us, or be consumed. A chorus of voices warned, echoing through the shadows. Sarah, hold on! I screamed. But already, I could see them preparing to pull her back. I hesitated for only a second, knowing what I had to do. I raised the locket again, its light flaring in defiance. I stepped toward the shadows, aiming to break through their barrier. That's when I saw the figure from before, standing among them, grinning. What do you want? I shouted, my resolve wavering in the face of the unknown. And then everything began to twist again. I stumbled back, the world blurring around me as the darkness constricted. I felt the locket pulse in my grip, its glow flickering, struggling against the overwhelming shadows. The entity from before loomed closer, its grin twisting into something more predatory, and I could feel it something was off. "Emily, fight!" Sarah's voice cut through the haze. I focused, my heart racing, and took a deep breath. "What do you want?" I repeated, trying to sound bolder than I felt. The shadows around me wavered as though unsure of my defiance. "Your friend is a part of this now," it taunted. "We've been waiting for you for so long." I stared at the figure, trying to make sense of its lies. "Why her? What do you gain?" The figure's laughter echoed, sending cold chills down my spine. "Her essence feeds the darkness. You'd be wise to surrender before you lose her, forever." A sudden tremor surged through me, battling terror with desperation. "No! I won't let you take her." I raised the locket. The beam of light intensified, igniting the shadows in a cacophony of whispers. "Join us, or face the consequences!" They screamed, voices intertwining like a broken melody. The shadows surged, pressing closer, forming shapes of despair that reached for Sarah. I could see the panic in her eyes. "Emily! Please!" The locket illuminated her face, amplifying the urgency I felt. "I won't give up on you," I yelled. I pushed through the shadows, fueled by every memory I held dear. "Forget her," the voice hissed. "You can't save her from what she has become." That struck a chord. The shadows fluttered, momentarily distracted by my anger, and I seized the opportunity. "You're wrong. She is strong." With every word, I felt the power of familiarity, the laughter, the warmth all flooding back. The shadows recoiled, but they quickly regrouped. "Your defiance is amusing, girl, but ultimately futile." Suddenly, I caught a movement out of the corner of my eye. Behind the darkness, a pair of gleaming eyes appeared, piercing and fixated on me. I froze, fear washing over me again. There was something different about this presence. It felt ancient, almost familiar. "Emily!" Sarah's urgent plea refocused my mind. I couldn't let them win. "Stay back!" I shouted at the shadows. I focused again on the locket, the memories coming alive in my hands. The light seemed to awaken something within the darkness, a flicker of hesitation. I stepped closer to Sarah, ignoring the icy touch of shadows against my skin. "We're together in this." As I bolstered my resolve, the figure laughed again, but the sound felt thinner, more strained. I stepped forward, determination fueling my actions. "You think you can divide us? But I know her heart." In response, the shadows surged forward, intent on swallowing us whole. I held the locket high, the light clashing brilliantly against the encroaching dark. And then I heard it. A whisper, almost lost in the chaos, but unmistakable. "Find what connects you." "What?" I muttered, bewildered. But as I sought to understand, the shadows twisted, forming a funnel of darkness, spiraling, threatening to engulf me. "Emily!" Sarah's voice trembled, and I could sense the abyss closing in around us. In that instant, I realized the truth: the fight wasn't just physical, it was a battle of bonds. With newfound clarity, I braced myself to unleash everything I had. I needed to protect Sarah. We were bound together. That's when it happened. The ground beneath me shuddered, and I felt a pull. What awaited me could change everything, or worse, tear us apart forever. The ground trembled again, stronger this time, and I staggered sideways as the darkness coiled like a serpent. Panic clawed at my throat. "Stay close, Sarah!" I shouted, though I wasn't sure she could hear me over the chaos. In that moment, everything shifted. The shadows twisted and morphed, pulling away from me as if they were scared. I squinted, forcing the locket's light to cut through the gloom. "What's happening?" I thought. Where would the pull lead me? Or worse, would it separate us? And then I felt a strange current beneath my feet, a vibration that called to me like a whisper in the wind. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Sarah's presence beside me. "We have to trust it," I said, more to myself than her. I stepped forward. "Let us go, together." The words hung in the air as the space around us warped. The shadows huddled, watching, recoiling from my determination. With each step, I felt the pull intensify as though I was on the edge of another world. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the locket and illuminated a previously hidden passage, a narrow gateway shrouded in mist and pulsing energy. I turned to Sarah, my heart racing. "We can escape. We can find a way out." "Emily, are you sure?" she asked, her voice tinged with hesitation. I saw doubt swim through her eyes, but I couldn't falter now. "Together!" I yelled, gripping her hand tightly. I could almost feel our heartbeats sinking. We dashed towards the glowing gateway, the shadows howling, flaring in rage. "Don't let it take you." The sound of their voices twisted together was like nails on a chalkboard. They surged forward, reaching out with tendrils of darkness. "Now!" I shouted, pulling Sarah into the portal just as a mass of shadowy fingers grazed my back. The sensation was icy but fleeting as we burst through into a new realm. We stumbled into a place that felt like a fragmented dream. Vibrant colors splashed across a landscape of floating islands, shimmering with an otherworldly light. Confusion mingled with awe as I took in the sight. "Where are we?" Sarah whispered, scanning our surroundings. "I don't know, but it feels significant," I replied, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. Everything about this place radiated energy, as if our very spirits could breathe here. Yet, that nagging worry pulled at me. "We need to get back, though. We can't leave them behind." As I spoke, a figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in shadow yet radiating a soft glow. I took a step back, heart racing. "Who are you?" I called out, trying to sound brave. "I am the Keeper of Connections," the figure said, voice echoing around us. "You both carry the light that the darkness fears. Then help us," I pleaded. "We need to save our friend from the shadows." The Keeper tilted their head, eyes glinting with understanding. "What you seek lies not within me, but within yourselves. To return and confront the darkness, you must first unlock the truth of your bond." I exchanged a glance with Sarah. That was our challenge. I could feel it, the weight of our history, our friendship. But what did that truly mean in the face of such overwhelming darkness? As I reached for Sarah's hand again, I noticed her fingers tremble. "Emily, I don't know if I can do this. What if we fail?" Her fear echoed mine, and I couldn't just let it fester. "We won't fail, Sarah. Not if we work together." Determined, I nodded at the Keeper. "We're ready." But just as we prepared to take that next step, the ground shook violently, and the shadows we thought we'd escaped loomed ominously at the edges of the brilliant realm. "They followed us here. Don't let them in," the Keeper warned. I felt the darkness surge, an angry tide against the light. With a deep breath, I closed my eyes, summoning every ounce of love and strength I had. "Now!" I shouted, pulling Sarah closer as the shadows swirled at the edges of our sanctuary, hungry to divide us once more. But that was when I saw it, an image of Sarah and me, laughing and unbreakable in my mind. Our bond was stronger than anything lurking in the darkness. I had to believe that. The Keepers. I seemed to ignite as the shadows advanced, closing in. "You must ignite your connection. Show them your truth." I took Sarah's hand and squeezed. "We are not alone." And then everything shifted again. My heart thundered as I felt the pull of shadows inching closer, threatening to drown out our light. But I wouldn't let them take her. "Let us do this," I shouted. We focused on each other. That tiny glimmer of trust had to be enough. It had to be. The shadows loomed larger, their creeping tendrils grasping at the air, threatening to snuff out the light that pulsed warmly between Sarah and me. With our hands clasped tight, we squared our shoulders against the foreboding darkness, deciding that this would not be our end. "Emily, remember why we're doing this," Sarah whispered, her eyes bright with determination that quivered beneath the dread. "For us." "Yes. For us, I echoed, allowing a spark of courage to ignite within. We visualized those joyful moments, shared our restless laughter, our shared dreams and adventures, all the light that had connected us through wild and wearisome days. It was our history, our bond. The keeperess voice rang deeply through the suffocating gloom. Channel that truth. Do not relent. What is truly yours will never succumb to shadows. Reacting to the fervent command, I felt the warmth of the locket surge into my palm. Focus on us. I shouted to Sarah, feeling the pull of the shadows growing stronger around us. Think about all the memories that defined us. With every ounce of energy, we spun back into that swirling dream, turning our thoughts inward, recalling every laugh, every tear, every moment we had always felt invincible together. We cannot be divided. I cried, as vivid fragments of our past flickered in my mind, a collage of everything that made us whole. As if spurred by our willpower, the light from my locket burst forth like an inferno, illuminating not just the shadows, but also the swirling depths of darkness surrounding us. Tendrils wilted, retreating from our joint strength. Together! Sarah urged, her voice rising above the chaos. We're stronger united. As our resolve met the shadows, an intermingling life force finally began to take shape. An incandescent beam shot towards the encroaching dark, pushing against the shadows like a tidal wave of radiant essence. I felt the oppressive weight lift, the darkness breaking apart like a bad dream at dawn. Suddenly, I caught sight of something familiar within the fading shadow, a figure, entangled in the remnants of the darkness, struggling. Look! I yelled, even as the light enveloped us both, revealing Sarah's face, tinged with shock. It's the woman from before. At first, I felt hesitation wash over me. Was it possible this was yet another trick? But as I took a step forward, the faces twisted in horror beneath the shadows began to shimmer under the light, guiding me closer. Free us! The figure cried, her hollow voice laced with desperation. Understanding surged through me. She was bound by the very darkness that sought to claim us, a prisoner of fear and anguish. Before I could grasp the ramifications of my next move, I felt Sarah squeezing my hand reassuringly. Emily, we can't abandon anyone, she said, her voice steady. With a deep breath, I made the choice, raising the locket towards the figure. I'll help you, but you have to stand with us. I shouted, rushing towards her, feeling the shadows writhing in contempt as they tried to reclaim their lost power. Her hollow eyes sparkled with fading hope. I can't fight alone, I need you. In that moment, as darkness swirled around us, I felt the connection, our bond uniting forces beyond time or place, one that reached into the past and beckoned the light. Using the locket as a catalyst, a radiant circle of energy enveloped us. Channel it through us. I urged, and when we joined hands and called upon every ounce of shared strength, the light surged even brighter, ripping through the darkness as if it were glass too fragile to withstand our truth. Shadows shrieked as they snapped and dispersed into nothingness, but I sensed something else lurking at the edges, determined not to falter. Accounts of centuries' worth of suffering in shadows. I could feel their anger rising as the darkness imploded, consumed by the radiant energy of our resolve. As the final echo of darkness fell away, time itself felt suspended, holding us in place. The figure who had once haunted us stood illuminated, eyes glistening with not just mortality, but a clarity that had been escaped for far too long. Words felt suddenly inadequate as relief flooded over us. Thank you, she whispered, a bittersweet smile threatening to break through her despair. But as she stepped forward, the space around her flickered curiously. Was she merely a remnant of the past? Was her salvation only temporary? I realized I still had so many questions. As I looked into the distance, amidst the fading light of the swirling landscape, uncertainty lurked in the corners of my thoughts. What now? I murmured, unsure of what this victory meant or what awaited us on the other side. Emily. Sarah's voice brought me back, tethering me to the present. I don't think we've seen the last of this. I nodded, recognizing the truth in her words. This was a battle, not the war. As we turned away from the realm of shadows, I couldn't shake the feeling that neither of us were entirely free from what we had awakened nor what could inevitably come again. I moved forward, arm in arm with Sarah, stepping into the gauzy light. It felt both like an escape and a beginning, as the shadows faded, but remnants of unanswered questions followed us, clinging like a second skin. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those shadows lie in wait, biding their time, or if they were simply manifestations of my mind. But mostly, I try not to think about it.